Breast cancer poses a very real risk to millions of South African women, and knowledge of the symptoms and the need for early diagnosis can make a major difference to their chances of survival and recovery. This is what inspired the Mela Breast Cancer Awareness Campaign, and a special photo shoot formed the centerpiece of the project. In our previous edition, we met some of the dynamic women involved in this initiative, and this week the focus falls on our pink ribbon heroes. Omar, you are a breast cancer survivor. What was your journey with the disease?
I was diagnosed on the 28th of May 2015. By then I didn't know anything about cancer, let alone breast cancer. And my doctor told me that you have an aggressive cancer that is on your breast. And he just said I needed to urgently do chemotherapy. I did it for 8 months. It was the toughest season of my life. It's not easy doing chemotherapy, but it's doable. And then after that, she did double mastectomy on me, and then I had to do radiation for 6 weeks.
How important is early detection?
For women who have acted early, they've survived quickly. They didn't have to go through the process that is so torturing.
What is your breast cancer awareness message?
It is quite important that women know how to familiarize themselves with their bodies. If you realize that something is wrong, you need to act quickly. Sometimes we sit with something and think it will disappear. It doesn't. Know your body, know you're normal. If I had made it, you can make it. So seek help. Cancer can be beaten. We are soldiering on, we are fighting every day. It can be beaten.
At the young age of 17, Jenna Skews was diagnosed with breast cancer. Jenna, what went through your mind and heart when you found out?
My initial reaction was complete shock. I didn't know that ladies could get breast cancer that young. It had never been a consideration that it could possibly happen to me. I didn't have a family history.
How did you discover you had breast cancer?
I was studying for my grade 11 exams and I was playing with a necklace and I just felt a lump. I didn't really know what to do, so I phoned my mom. That was my initial reaction. She said, okay Jen, let's go get it checked out.
What line of treatment did you take?
I was very lucky. I had a very rare type of breast cancer and I didn't need chemo or radiation, but I did need a mastectomy. I had my family and friends around me. I gathered all my warriors and we said, let's do this.
Jenna, what are common misconceptions held by women about breast cancer?
That breast cancer only affects older women and that the younger generations are not affected by it. But breast cancer is being diagnosed younger and younger.
Mandisa, you are currently fighting a brave fight with breast cancer. How did you find out you had breast cancer?
I found a lump in my breast November of 2018, but at that time I didn't think it was anything worth investigating. So for me, it was just like, it's just another lump, it'll go away. When it started getting serious a month later, then I started noticing different symptoms like bloody discharge, pain, and my mom actually forced me to seek help. So I was officially diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer in May of this year.
You're currently undergoing chemotherapy. What has this experience been like?
It's been very trippy because you get sort of like a theoretical perspective of what chemotherapy is like when you read up on it, what you've seen in movies and television, but when you're actually going through it, it's a completely different thing altogether. Just mentally preparing myself for chemotherapy, going to the hospital, because I get my chemo via IV. And it's a lot to take in. It hasn't been as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it's also taxing a lot because after chemotherapy, for an entire week, I'm out. I can't sit up, I can't speak, I can't eat, I can't do anything. Throughout the entire process, I have to remind myself to stay positive. I have to remind myself that I'm still in it. I'm going to get better.
What is your breast cancer awareness message?
Go get yourself checked out. If you find that you do have breast cancer, it's not the end of the world. There are people that have come out on the other side stronger.
Lillian, it is always such a pleasure and a privilege to chat to you.
I'm also very honored to be here. Thank you.
Lillian, how did you find out you had cancer and what treatment did you undergo?
I was so fortunate. Remember our sister Bettina for a long time in Seoul City. And there is where I learned how to look for the signs. I found my lump myself. So it was confirmed at the hospital that it was a breast cancer. They did a biopsy to confirm that. And then I started with surgery. I did what they call a lumpectomy, where they just removed the lump. Thereafter, I went through chemo. And after chemo, I did a whole month's radiation. It was like going to work every day. Though it did come back after 8 years being in remission. Even then, I was still not scared. So I had to do a mastectomy.
Lillian, how has cancer affected you?
In a very positive way. Breast cancer has made me grow in love, in life, in everything. I live one day at a time. Life is beautiful. And you know what? I don't sweat the small stuff anymore.
How important is positivity and your mental landscape when faced with a health challenge like this one?
When you are faced with something like breast cancer, you really, really need a positive mind. Because the mind is so powerful. If you think you are going to die, you are going to die. And if you think, I'm going to make it, you're going to make it. Here I am sitting with you.
What message do you have for women who are struggling with the illness coming from a survivor?
Women who are going through treatment really need support. Because remember, some people don't even have families. Even families, when they have someone suffering from cancer, they are more scared than the person suffering.
Lillian, what is your breast cancer awareness message?
Breast cancer, if detected early, and early treatment need not be a death sentence.
Liana, how has breast cancer affected you?
It's affected me both in my personal as well as professional life. Personally, I come from a generation of women with a very strong family history of breast cancer. And 8 years ago, I lost my mom to breast cancer. And then professionally, I'm involved with breast reconstructive surgery. So I've been part of both sides of the coin. And last year, I was also diagnosed with the BRCA2 gene. So I underwent a double mastectomy and simultaneous breast reconstruction in May last year. Once I did the mastectomy, they do send the tissue away for testing, and they found pre-malignant tissue in both my breasts, so it was the right thing to do.
Did having a double mastectomy affect your self-esteem?
It definitely did. It was a very difficult decision. I'm single, not married, don't have any children, and it's a big decision to make prior to having all of that in your life. You know, the thought of never being able to breastfeed your children. And the advent of meeting someone new, what do you say? How do you tell someone that, by the way, I don't have my own breasts anymore? So it was emotionally a very difficult decision to make. And in the beginning, you do feel very self-conscious. It's a big body adjustment and sort of being comfortable with yourself to be able to go to the beach again and wear a costume and feel like I'm okay. Takes some time, but I had a great support from friends and family, which I wouldn't have been able to do all of this without.
Liana, what is your breast cancer awareness message?
Self-examination, self-examination, self-examination.
Liana, can you show all our viewers out there how to do a self-examination?
The ideal time to do it is generally we tell patients in the shower, because then you have a bit of soap on your hands, so it's not putting dry skin onto dry skin, which can be irritating. And to lift the arm up and to just put it at the back of the head, because you also have to remember the lymph nodes that drain the breast also sit in the armpit. So sometimes you need to examine your armpits as well to make sure that you don't feel any lumps there, because it could be a lymph node. And then it's easiest just to divide your breast into 4 quadrants or just into 2. And remember to examine both the superior part of your breast as well as the inferior part of your breast, moving all the way up into the armpit. And it's more like a circular motion, because if you're going to just pat, you're not going to feel. You need to sort of push in the breast tissue and circular motions to feel if there are any lumps or bumps.
Those are truly inspiring women, and there's honesty and courage in each of their stories. What's more, they project their inner beauty in the stunning images, and we'll share the process and the fun they had as models at our next Mela.